Welcome to Scry Babies Podcast. I'm Liz Stardust.
I'm Tori of the Best.
Today we will be discussing everything that is Murders of Karlov Manor, but first, if you would like to pick up your own Precons collector boosters or even a brand new play boosters, which we'll be taking a look at today, then be sure to click the link to shop down in our description below. We'd like to thank Wizards of the Coast for sponsoring today's episode and giving us the ability to talk about this entire set.
Yeah, so early. We love this. It's one of the best perks of being a hashtag MTG ambassador is being able to showcase all these cool cards early so we can tell all of you about them.
Yeah, I think that's a really special thing. I know that we have been playing Magic for 3 years now, and we've really just been trying to explore as much of Magic as possible. So getting to have early access to those things and report to you and go through our Precons, the Ravnica Clue Edition, there's so much cool stuff to get into. So first up, we wanted to talk a little bit about the new mechanics for this set.
That's right. So we have a lot of new mechanics that are coming out, and I mean a lot. And these are all pretty, I don't know if they've ever been explored before under different names in previous sets, but they all seem very new. So the first mechanic we have is called Disguise. So a disguise cost, you can cast a card face down for, it'll have a mana value. So let's say 3. So you can cast a card face down for 3 as a 2/2 creature with ward 2. You can turn it face up anytime for its disguise cost. So it's pretty cool. You have stuff entering the battlefield, you know, flipped over, not sure what it is. And that could be anything. And I think that's pretty neat.
I think that's really cool because you can do a big deck where you have huge creatures that are just in their like foretelled state, essentially.
Yeah.
And they can just flip out and then do big ETB effects, I assume, and like also just like scary board state things, which is really fun.
Yeah, and you can do it at any time, which is awesome. So really excited about that mechanic. I think it'll be really cool. It's kind of like you said, like the foretelling. We also have a mechanic called Cloak. It's very similar to Morph. So you cloak a card by putting it on the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature with ward 2. You turn it face up at any time for its mana cost if it is a creature. There's a bunch of different ones it looks like.
I will say I do like that these mechanics are not completely different. They're similar to older ones because I think it makes it easier for players to get into it. I think if I was a new player approaching a set that had a bunch of keywords that I didn't understand, it would be really hard. But having a veteran player being like, it is like this mechanic, I think really would help out.
Looking at the Magic the Gathering article on their website, if you want an in-depth view on all the mechanics, there is an awesome article. It tells you everything that they do. So it says every once in a while you can cloak a card with abilities that allow you to turn it face up in other ways, such as Disguise or even Morph. So it looks like they're going to go pretty deep into that mechanic. We also have Investigate, which is apparently returning in this set. So Investigate is you create a clue token, an artifact with pay 2, sacrifice it, draw a card. I love investigating. I like clue tokens. I think drawing cards is great. So I'm stoked on that. And now we also have Suspect, which I think sounds really fun because it plays on the whole spy game and like, you know, got to target a little suspect. So a suspected creature, it looks like it almost kind of plays off the role token we had in Eldraine where it just has menace and it can't block as long as it remains suspected. I like this card, or this mechanic. I think it's pretty cool to just give something menace and can't block. It kind of shakes people's plans up a little bit.
I'm curious because I feel like that mechanic feels very like potentially like specific to this set.
Yeah.
Versus the other two where I think like you can do that effect at other times and like flip the big cards, or like I believe one of the Disguise ones or Cloak puts it on the top of your deck as well. There's certain things that do that. So I feel like that aspect is like a little more used in other sets potentially versus this mechanic. But I think they all sound really cool.
Yeah, and we also have Collect Evidence. Collecting evidence is a cost that you may be asked to pay in a variety of contexts. So for example, we have a card coming out called Axebane Ferox. It has War to collect evidence for whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls. Counter it unless that player exiles cards with total mana value 4 from or greater from their graveyard. So it looks like you can have a bunch of different effects with this Collect Evidence. Excited to see what's going on with that. I do like things that cause my opponent to pay for what they want to do to me. Love that. And then we also have Cases.
So many things.
Cases. These are really interesting. So they look like sagas. They're very similar looking to sagas. They are, it looks like to be an enchantment. new type of enchantment debuting in this set. So it looks like the cases have an ETB, and then they have a solve mechanic that comes with it. So if you solve it by doing the necessary steps on the card at someone's end or on your end step, you're able to do the solved mechanic. I'll show the card on the screen.
Boom. There it is.
There it is. Yeah, so if you take a look at this card, these ones I'm still a little confused about, not gonna lie. I'm probably going to read these like 10 times to understand it. I still have problems understanding sagas sometimes, not gonna lie.
Also, too, we're at the point where we're recording this. We haven't had the chance to like fully play a pre-release, and like there's things that we are excited to play because we have some pre-release kits. So I did like mess around with the deck earlier, but like I think the more we play this, the more we will get familiar with this in particular. We're at the case.
At the cases. So yeah, we haven't really gotten to play this set yet. We got to look at it. We got to, flip through the cards, look at everything. But I think once we get to play these new mechanics, then we'll fully grasp what it is they do, especially the cases. There's a lot of text on those.
Yeah. I do think they're like similar to sagas and actually probably the closest to the classes from the D&D set where they have like this long-term effect, the pay effect, and then another one. But I think it's an interesting concept. I like enchantment cards like that. I really like just the overall feel of it. So.
I love a twofer.
Yeah.
Give me a 2-for-1. This one's like a 3-for-1. I love that. The more the merrier on a card. Excited to play those. I think they're going to see play probably outside of just the set too. Maybe they'll infiltrate some other formats.
I think they could. We'll see. I'm not sure like if there's like a very like strong one that seems like it'll be universally good around like different formats. Because I've had a handful of them, but I know there's way more than what I open because I know we open completely different things in our set, which is interesting because there's so many new cards.
So many.
Yeah. We've been talking about opening pack. In the set, we have collector's boosters, we have our precons, we have Ravnica Clue, and we have what's new, which is a play booster. So the play booster is a new experience that is combining the best of set boosters and draft boosters. So for all sets continuing on, we will only be getting this specific play booster. So you can expect those. You can expect the collector boosters and then some other things like probably I would assume we would get whatever else. But I think the main thing is collector's boosters and play boosters. So
we're going to open it up.
Tori's going to pop that open. And while that is happening, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what is in play boosters. So there is going to be a graphic that we will put on here on YouTube so you can see that too. There is going to be 15 slots. So slot 1 through 6 will be your commons. Number 7 will be a list or common card. 8 through 10 is uncommons. Slot 11 will be a rare or mythic card. Or I'm sorry, a rare or mythic rare card, to be more specific. Slot 12 will have a basic land. 13 will have a non-foil wild card. 14 will have a foil wild card. And then 15 will be an add, token, helper, or art card. So this is everything. It says it's draftable, of course, which is great. We're going to have a new draft experience with this play booster. I think it's very similar to draft boosters. I didn't think they were like busted or anything where people were concerned about the set booster. Like
I think they're trying to make it a little more fair where you don't have either a super busted pack or a pack that has like nothing really good in it. So like this one I just opened has a rare, it has a wrist card. It has a rare, it has a list card, it has a really cool foil in it, it's got a full art land, and it has a art card.
Yeah, it does say that they go up to 4 rare total, which I think is pretty interesting. And yeah, I think they're fine. Like I don't think, I don't know what I was expecting with them. They do feel again closest to the draft ones, I think, at least from what I opened the whole box with. But yeah, this is a new sort of thing they're doing, and I'm excited to see how they progress throughout the year. I know that was a big change for people, and I know that people want to make sure that their draft and pre-release experiences were the same, if not, amplified better. So I would love to hear from everybody what your thoughts were on the new play boosters as well. So my suggestion, if I could make one, would be for, instead of just having the general like ads in there, I would love if they had keyword mechanic cards. So something like, how they have the main, it basically breaks down a turn. So it'll be like your main phase, your combat phase, your post-combat, like everything that's like laid out on that little card. If they had like the keywords for that set on there, nice and easy. I know they give you like a pamphlet, but having a little small card that you could have next to you, or even just like for new players, having like, here's what Menace is, here's what Lifelink is, like having the 10 most popular keywords of that set. I think that would be a really useful thing to have in play boosters.
Yeah, I agree.
A new player. It's nice that they gave us an example of what each pack is supposed to have so we know what's going into this. Special things for this set. So we have Invisible Ink dossier cards. We opened one. We both did.
We both did. What did you get?
We both opened them in our collector booster. I didn't see any in a play booster. I think they were exclusive to that. I might be wrong on that, but that is where we got it. I got the mole, the little mole card, which his name is Ansrag, the Quake Mole. It is a red and green commander, so it's red, green, and 2 colorless for him. That was my card. At first, I wasn't sure if that was what it was supposed to be because it's so subtle, which is nice. It's kind of like that like cool detective invisible ink aesthetic, so I thought it was really cool. Ian got a really cool Rakdos too, and I like that all of them are different for the type that it is. It's not just like a linear effect or like a set symbol. It's very specific to each card.
So I opened Massacre Girl, Known Killer. This invisible ink card has looks like daggers around it, which is pretty cool. Goes with the whole Massacre Girl thing with her knife. I like that these cards also have like a file. It looks like the little manila envelope with their little case about who they're looking for. Just some cool flavor on the card. Goes with the set. I think it's fun when they play with like the textures like that.
Yeah, I think it's one of my favorite things about Magic is having the most unique like art styles. I think the file thing makes a lot of sense, and I like the flavor text on those cards a lot. Yeah. They're really funny. And we're gonna get into some of the other ones. Like I know they had the showcase magnifying cards, so we'll put some up here as well. I thought that was a really cool feature. I think they look great in foil. I think they look really good for just cards in general. There is one with Massacre Girl that I thought was really, really cool looking, the Slice from the Shadows card. And I think this is a good art treatment. I think they look especially good on the enchantment cards. I don't know if I'm a little biased on that.
Oh, not biased at all. Yeah. I opened up a foil magnifying like treatment of Assemble the Players, and I think it's the most beautiful card that I've opened so far.
Insidious Roots, I believe it's called. The Golgari card, I thought that was like one of the most beautiful cards of the set. Just really beautiful foiling, and also the magnifying art for that was really cool. So I actually like this. I like seeing the different styles that they'll do for a more unique take on that. And this is something I really enjoyed from this set. They also have serialized Showcase Ravnica City cards. Neither of us opened a serialized card.
Nope, no serial card.
That is fine. I never have opened a serialized card, so I don't know if we'll be that lucky, but I think there's a few different versions and different character like legendary creatures and other creatures that have that. So that is available through the set as well in your collector's boosters. Something also available to us in boosters, which I was very excited about, is special guest cards. So they started doing special guest cards with, what was the set that came out before Ixalan? It was Ixalan. I think that's when because we opened it. Okay, so in Ixalan, they started doing what is called special guest cards, because that's where I got the Thrasios and all those other ones. Yes. So they're returning with that. So we have Crashing Footfalls, Drown in the Loch, Fabricate, Field of the Dead, Gamble, which is the one I opened, and it's absolutely gorgeous. We get a new Ghostly Prison, Show and Tell, Tireless Tracker is probably my favorite art from this, and a Tragic Slip, which is done by Scott M. Fisher, which is just gorgeous. I mean, his art is phenomenal. I love this one. So yeah, overall they were like really well done. I thought those were good selections for the set. I thought it also made sense to the set, and I think they were very great artist selections for this too. So I'm hoping to pick up some more of those as singles, probably not cracking some more packs and getting a few of those, but yeah, I think those were really, really beautiful and some good selections for the choices for the special guest cards too. I would love to hear, before we get into Ravnica Clue, what you thought of the overall like Clue theme. I know there was some Clue cards. They had like the weapons, for example. They had the rope, and they had a wrench, and they had all those cards in there.
Yeah, they had like the rod or the lead pipe. Excuse me.
Yes, the lead pipe.
I thought that was fun. I like how like campy it got.
Yeah, it's campy, but it's not overpowering the set. I like that they kept it a little bit separate, but they still had, because it makes sense. Clue and the investigating is already what, they're doing. So it makes sense in the set.
It's subtle camp.
I like that.
We'll say that. Subtle camp. I think it's fun. I like it because it also is just something that's like familiar. Like I love a little nod to something, like when Eldrin had like Mother Goose and like all the stuff that called back to like classic fairy tale lore. It's fun to connect with it because you know about it. And like, who hasn't played Clue?
Yeah. It's a classic, like,
movie's
staple.
Iconic.
Yes. Oh my God, the
Colonel
movie
Mustard.
is iconic. That's something
Love
I
my
was
life.
hoping for too. I really would love if they did like a secret layer of like the Clue movie. Everybody would love that. I think it's a classic.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I thought the whole set was done very well. I think all of the little magnifying glasses and all of the like the names of the mechanics, like disguise, cloak, and everything else, just tied in a nice little neat package.
I really enjoyed that. So before we get into Precons, I want to talk about Ravnica Clue real quick, because I think this was my all-star product, like my A+ product. I didn't expect to like this as much as I did, and I'm like very on the wavelength of being like, this is the best product.
I didn't open mine yet, so sell me on it.
Yes, okay.
Tell me about the Clue.
So I love
box.
this product. I thought it was a really fun game. I think it's really a great way to get new players of Magic who enjoy board game nights with their family to play. So it is very similar to Jumpstart. You'll take 2 packs from the set and shuffle them together. Each one has a different color, like, piece. I think they're 2 colored ones. So when I played, it was a Azorius and a Golgari deck that I mushed together, and Ian played Boros and whatever else he played. And there is enough, I believe, to play up to 4 players. If not 6, I believe it is 4, but we play with the 2 of us, which you can do. It's basically like you're playing Jumpstart and Clue together. So it starts out with like 2 lands on the board, and then you know how Clue is a person, a place, and a thing. Mm-hmm. You shuffle out the cards, distribute them, you pick your 3, and then you play Magic. So anytime you do combat damage to a player, you can make what's I guess like a guess. So you can only make one official guess at the end to be like, I think it was Professor Plum with this, and this, but you can ask them being like, I think it might be these 3 things. And then if I attack you, then you can reveal one of them to me if you have it, or if you don't have any, then I have the opportunity at the end step to make an educated guess. You only get 1 guess though. So if you mess it up, you can't do it again. And I thought that was really fun. I thought it was a really unique style. There hasn't been really anything like this for Magic, I think, that kind of incorporated more of like a family sense. Like I know there was other things that they've done, but bringing it to the closest that they could do for a board game, I was always curious as to how they would do it.
It's like a game within a game.
Yeah, and it's really, really fun. And you also get this, unique art style. So you get the very like Clue-centric lands and the weapons as well. And we get new commanders. So I thought that was really special. You can use them in your regular decks or whatever you want to use them in. You're welcome to do that. But for each character that you do see on the Ravnica for each character remastered. For each character you see on the cover of Ravnica Clue, they all have their own commander. So I thought that was really fun. I know one that was previewed earlier was the Senator Peacock one. So it's like a mono blue card. The mono black commander I thought was really good as well. And so I thought that was a really cool way to get people into it, because it's more than just like the reprints of the lands or, the new weapons. You have these new commanders, and I think they're really special. So that is like an A+ product for me. I love that the way that they chose to do this was the equivalent of Jumpstart packs. So they're like a little booster specifically for that with these cards that you can play. And I just think that's like the best way to show players how to do things. Yeah. Magic, to learn Magic. So
it's fun.
Yeah.
That's the most important part, I think, is if something is fun, it's like memorable. It
was incredibly memorable. I really enjoyed that, and I'm happy with the product. So this is me, just A+ all around. Again, it was not something I thought I was gonna like as much as I did, and I'm really happy I got a chance to check that out. So, and it has a lot of replay value,
which is great.
Yeah.
Nothing, you don't want to just have something where it's one and done and then you're just like, okay, now what do I do with all this?
Yeah, I think you could even, like, again, the decks themselves aren't super specific to Clue. The cards you have are specific to Clue. So I think if you, like, wanted to play with other Jumpstart packs, you could do that. But you can keep them, and just like what I do is I put them in a little individual case. So if I want to play with friends again, we just shuffle them up and pick them out of the case. So there's replay value with them too.
There you go.
So those are great. Precons. Yes. So we have the Deadly Disguise Precon. That is a Naya color Precon. We have the Dimir Precon, which is Revenant Recon. We also have the Blame Game Boros Precon. And then my personal favorite, which is Deep Clue C, which is really funny. I enjoyed that name a lot, and I was really looking forward to all of these decks. I know when they came out, the two of us were texting like, we want to play Boros or we want to play the Naya deck. And after going through them, I looked at the Deep Clue C one and I was like, oh, this one's for me. It does everything I wanted to. It gives me an Academy manufacturer, which is what I love. It's making clue tokens. It's giving me a bunch of other legendary creatures and cool creatures that I want to play. So it's everything in my playstyle of Magic. I do think the Boros one is like maybe my close second favorite. I thought that was really cool. And I think they're all really good thematic cards, but also packed with great cards. They're packed with not only great new cards, but classic reprints. And I think the value of them is really good. And I think that there's some really strong precons. I am saying I think a lot, but I'm just really impressed with them.
No, I think they're really cool. And I have to laugh because when we first got these in, I remember I sent a picture to you. I was like, okay, precons are here. Like, which one do you want? I'll let you have the dibs. And you were like, ooh, I kind of want the Boros one. And I was like, I know I'm getting stuck with the fish. Yeah. I always get stuck on Merfolk. It's fine. It's part of my brand.
Merfolk.
It's part of my brand. It's okay.
Well, this one's not even a there's Merfolk in the deck. But
fish people.
But it's a fish person.
Merfolk.
No, but I'm saying, isn't that crazy? It's not technically a Merfolk.
It's not technically a Merfolk.
Isn't that crazy?
But we know deep down it's a Merfolk.
We know it's a Merfolk.
But that's okay. So I think that's funny that you were like, I don't want to play that one. Wait, now I really want to play that one. So.
Yeah, you know why? Because there's a card in there that is totally what I wanted from this set. I wanted a reference to Scooby. This is literally the closest Scooby thing that we will ever get, and I was jazzed about it, and this was the commander I was looking forward to most. My favorite card from the set, which I'm planning on making a whole deck for, is Sophia Dog Detective. You can find this in the Precon, the Deep Clue C one, which also has the funniest, punniest name, and I love it so much. Sophia is a... You can look at the card and you could tell me that's not a Scooby card. That is totally it. And I love it because it makes a food token, which is totally my thing. You have little puppies. So it's whenever a dog you control deals combat damage to a player, you create food tokens. So you're in green, blue, and white. You have access to a ton of dogs, and you just make all your little puppies.
And they're bringing out that commander deck soon too.
Yeah, they have the I think it's called Raining Cats and Dogs. I almost said Dogs Days Are Over, but it's all cats and dogs stuff. So we're gonna get a bunch of new cards for that too. And so I think it's gonna be a really fun commander. When Sophia enters the battlefield too, you make Tiny, a legendary 2/2 green dog detective creature token with trample. I love this card. This is like, as soon as I saw it, I think I texted you right away and I was like, I can't wait to make this. It's very up my alley. It's very campy. It's very silly. And it's like the reference that I needed. So that is in the Precon. Yeah. What is the Precon you're most excited for? Or most
Boros. Excited I'm excited for the Boros Precon. I think that this is going to be it's a fun like combat initiative deck. I like that as an aggro player.
Yeah. Besides that, I would love to talk a little bit, since I kind of popped off about that commander, some of our favorite cards or maybe commanders that you want to make for the set and stuff like that. One that I was really excited about was Desana the Rage Mother. So this is a new bear. It's a Naya bear, and it was really cute, and I'm very excited about it. So when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2. Whenever a creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2 attacks, it gets +3/+3 until end of turn. It's a 5/5 for Naya and 2 colorless. This card is so stinking cute. This art is the cutest thing ever. I'm obsessed with it. And people already who enjoy bears are having the most perfect commander for this. A lot of people are saying that this could potentially be like a cool CDH deck. Some people are saying maybe like a weird food chain thing. I'm not trying to do that. I just want to play bears and have a great time with my little 2/2 babies. It's a great option for that. And yes, I think this is one of the cutest arts from the set, so I'm really excited to give that one a try.
So one of the commanders that I opened that I'm excited for is Kranko, Baron of Tin Street. He's a little freak. He's got a little red nose. He's a legendary goblin. He's got haste, and he's a 3/3. He costs 2 generic mana and 1 red. So you can tap him to sacrifice an artifact and put a +1/+1 counter on each goblin you control. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, so your opponents have artifacts too, you may pay a red mana, and if you do, you create a 1/1 red goblin creature token, and it gains haste until the end of turn. This is awesome for a multitude of reasons. One, if you have a lot of artifacts in your deck and a lot of goblins in your deck, you could just go crazy with this, with mana, with goblins, with, goblin bombardment. There's just a ton of things you can do. And then also it kind of punishes your opponents who are trying to sack a bunch of treasures, do a bunch of not sacking treasures, but if you're discarding artifacts and doing other stuff that puts them in the graveyard, they want to blow up their own artifacts, guess what, buddy? I don't want one. So I love this. I think this is going to be a really fun commander. That's the one I pulled aside. Love the art, love the treatment of him, love Kranko.
It's mono red too.
It's mono red.
Yeah, we love mono red.
We love mono red. I love goblins. I love goblin synergy. Big Goblin energy.
Can I tell you about the mono red deck that I had saved?
Yes.
It's Tesek Judiths Hellhound. So it's got an Unleash on it, which is you may have this creature under the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. It can't block as long as it has a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's for 3 colorless and a red. It's a 3/3. And other dogs you control have Unleash. Creatures you control with counters on them have haste. And then whenever this card attacks, you can add red for each attacking creature. Look how cool it is.
Oh, he's cool.
It's cool. It's a very cool mono red deck. It's something I was looking at building too. Judith, of course, has a new card, which I also think is awesome. It's a Rakdos deck. So a red and black and 3 colorless for a 3/4. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you choose one. So that spell gains Death Touch and Lifelink, which sounds really fun. Or create a 2/2 red imp creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. So Judith is kind of slaying this deck. Both her and her dog are out here doing really cool stuff. And I think it's fun to have like a Rakdos Spellslinger deck. I think that's a little bit different. And you're still able to do the punchy combat thing with it.
Yeah,
So
I think
like
that's
that.
really cool. The only other creature I saved that I really pulled aside and I wanted to build was Massacre Girl.
Yeah.
The known
Massacre Girl's
killer.
good.
Really cool, has Menace. It's a 4/4. And creatures you control have Wither. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, if its toughness was less than, I can't remember because I covered it with my thumb in the photo, draw a card.
I have it.
Like, seriously?
Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, if its toughness was less than 1,
I wanted to say 1, but I was like, I don't want to be wrong. If it shows up on the screen, I'll look like a big dummy. I like the art in the card. I think Wither's cool. I know it's an older mechanic. Negative counters is sweet. Something I actually never got to do in a deck, so pulled her aside. Mono black could be really fun.
Yeah.
I'm into mono color commanders. That's my 2024.
I think so too. I think
Mono
it'd be really
colors.
fun to build like a mono commander like pod and just kind of see what color is best. But I also think it's always going to be red because it's my favorite to play.
Same.
Some honorable mentions: Kylox, Visionary Inventor. I'm not reading this whole card out because it is the longest text. However, it is a very cool card. We will put it right here on the screen for you to read. I also like the new Marvo Deep Operative card. It's a really cool octopus rogue. You can find this in the Dimir Precon as well. There is a clash effect on it, so that's pretty cool. We have a new Niv Mizzet, another 5-color Niv Mizzet, which is very cool. You did?
I did.
I got one too. So it's got flying hexproof for multicolored. For Wooburg, it is a 6/6, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it deals X damage to any target. Target player draws X cards, and you draw X life, where X is the number of different color pairs among permanents you control that are exactly 2 colors. That seems like a really fun like challenge build for like different cards in general, since they're all like 2 color pairings in general.
Yeah.
So I think that's really fun. The new Teysa is kind of cool too. I got one of the new arts for Teysa. So there's a lot of cool stuff. There's also this crocodile elk turtle. I don't know if you got one of those.
I don't know if I got him.
He's pride of the whole clade.
Oh, I like him.
So there's just like fun stuff. Tristani is really good. Vanfire, there's a ton of new stuff. And I love the Precons. I think they're great. I think the secondary card that they put in there is the optional other commanders. All of them are fantastic too. So lots of good legendary creatures.
Yes.
So we're going to get into some of the cards that we just liked from the set that we think could be really fun for a variety of different decks. I found a couple I thought would be really cool for CDH, so I just wanted to put that out there. And it seems like the internet agrees that Crime Novelist, the Goblin Bard, is going to be very good. So it is a red card. It is 2 colors and a red for a 1/3. And whenever you sacrifice an artifact, you put a +1/+1 counter on Crime Novelist and add red. So that means if you sack your treasure for whatever color you're doing, you're also getting a red mana. This kind of reminds me of Bergie, where you're like getting a red mana for every spell you cast, but instead it's just for sacking artifacts. This set is very clue focused, right? So you're going to sack those artifacts, but there's tons of other things you could do. We talked about having an academy manufacturer and having treasures and clues and all these possible things. Seems like a great one to me. The other one that I really enjoyed was the Doorkeeper Thrall. It is a white and 1 colorless for a 1/2. It has flash and flying. And artifacts and creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. This seems like it's going to be a really great card.
Yes, this is going to be a good card, I think, in multiple formats because it's a good hate card, too. It shuts things down.
It's cheap.
It's cheap.
It's literally 2 for a flash flying card. Are you kidding me?
Shuts stuff down. It's
Shuts
a
all
1/2.
that stuff down.
Yeah, I saved that one. I pulled that one aside.
I thought that was, as soon as I saw that, I saved it. I was like, this is going to be one that's really good. And I'm happy to hear that other people are thinking that too. Another one I thought was really fun was the Final Word Phantom. It's 2 colorless and a blue for a 1/4 that also has flash and flying. During each opponent's end step, you may cast spells as though they had flash. That seems really fun to me.
Yeah.
I like it. That was another one I thought might be cool for CDH. But other than that, there's a bunch of other cool cards that I enjoyed. I don't know if there was anything you also liked.
Yeah, so there's a couple cards that I pulled aside that I thought were interesting. I saw Assemble the Players. I think this card's going to see some play. It's an enchantment for a colorless and a white. You may look at the top card of your library anytime, and once each turn you may cast a creature spell with power 2 or less from the top of your library. Not really sure where this is going to be played yet. It could probably be played in 4-color. I'm a Hammer player. Not really sure. I'm going to have to dig into Travis Brown's mind and see if he thinks this has a place in Mono White Hammer at all, considering there are some creatures that are power 2 or less in that deck that would definitely benefit from it. But again, I'm not a champion, so I don't know.
There's a lot of the power 2 stuff in this set, I noticed.
Oh, yeah. We also have Lightning Helix reprinted in this set, which is going to affect Pioneer. Lightning Helix being Pioneer legal is pretty cool. So now you have the deal 3, gain 3 card, which is pretty great. We also have Long Goodbye, which is a colorless and a black mana. It cannot be countered and destroys target creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less. I think this is going to see a lot of play in every format, honestly. This card's great. It's for 2 mana. It can't be countered, and you can just destroy something through a creature or a planeswalker. That's awesome. With mana value 3 or less. That's great. That's just such a good card. So stoked on that card. And then I also saved some cards that I just had some I wonder if this will happen or not. So I saved this card I pulled called Reenact the Crime. It is a colorless and 3 blue. It's an instant. You exile a target non-land card in a graveyard that was put there from anywhere this turn, copy it, and you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So immediately I thought about, all right, this can go in a mill deck. This is a deck you can mill yourself out, cast this, cast an Emrakul or something for 4 mana. That's crazy. And now that we have some little hints that Magic put out about maybe we're going to see your favorite Eldrazi's come soon, maybe this card will take an effect with some Eldrazi's and you can mill some big boys and bring them out.
I like that we've been talking about crazy cool cards, and I'm I also saved the Magnetic Snuffler, which is just this 5-fact artifact creature construct. I'm sorry, it's a 4/4 for 5 colorless, and when it enters the battlefield you can return target equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to it. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, so you can make him a really big boy really fast.
So cute.
He's so cute. I just think this would be a really fun card to have, and especially since we're again sacking all those artifacts, it makes it so he gets big real quick.
I also saved this card for Commander. This looks pretty cool. It's called Outrageous Robbery. I don't know if you opened this one. It's an X cost card with 2 black mana. It's an instant, and its target opponent exiles the top X cards of their library face down. You may look at and play those cards for as long as they remain exiled. If you cast the spell this way, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast it. I think this is really cool. I think you can kind of take somebody's stuff, cast their stuff. I know you're a big Paco Haldon enjoyer of taking people's stuff and playing it.
I love taking
people's stuff. I thought Outrageous Robbery was a really cool card. And the last one that I saved here, or I saved 2 more. I saved a War Leader's Call, and it is a Boros card, 1 colorless, red and white. Enchantment, creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Just seems like a fun Boros commander card. Doesn't seem cracked or insane.
We love Boros.
I love +1/+1 counters. I like Boros. I like pinging people.
I also don't think every card has to be the wildest, craziest cards. I just I know I play a lot of CDH, and I know that those cards will probably see play. But as far as casual, we have a lot of fun casual legendary creatures, fun casual cards, lots of interesting things that can be seen in play for not just Commander, but for 60 card formats and things like that. So I think this is a really fun set for that. So I'd love to know if you had any big pros or cons for this set.
Let's see. So I think my pros for this set is there's a bunch of new fun mechanics. They're on point with the flavor of, the whole set, what's going on. I love that. I love when people get, creative with the design as far as the little files for the art and the invisible ink, and there's a clue token and investigating and cloaking. I think that's really cool. Looks like there's some pretty powerful cards for each format coming out, so I'm really stoked to see that. Happy to see Lightning Helix and Pioneer, so I love Lightning Helix. I'm a big burn enjoyer. Cons for the set, I don't really have any cons yet, as I have not gotten to really play the set yet. So I'm sure once I play it and go through with it, I'll figure some stuff out. I guess my only con right now is that the cases are a little confusing to look at.
Yeah, that's kind of my con too, is as a new player going into this set, I feel I would have a really hard time with, because there's so many new things, and that's I can't I know any set that comes out with Magic is going to be like, here's some new mechanics. But I wish there was like, I know there is those little pamphlets that kind of, for example, like I saved the one that was like for the draft archetypes that I think is really good to like give that to new players to be like, here's something you could brew and play, right? But I do wish there was like a little resource guide that's a little bit better for new players, especially with new mechanics coming out in a set like this. That's kind of my con. I think my pros are definitely the Ravnica Clue. Fantastic, great thing for new players to get into. I also really thought that the collector's boosters that I opened at least were like stacked, very good. I'm very happy with the foil treatments on those and the ink cards that we were talking about. I think that's a really cool thing. The magnifying glass cards I thought were really fun too. And I think we got like a good selection of interesting characters for those legendary creatures. I didn't know what to expect again because it's so like set in Ravnica after we just had Ravnica remastered in the previous set, but I do think it's a really fun thing. I was worried that it would have to be like so specific to that set that like you could only play those in that set, right? But I think it has like a little more dimension to it, and it can be seen in other, you know, decks and things in the future and other places. So I'm happy that it isn't so entirely focused, though you can have that experience if you want to be like, let's all play these like detective focused decks and clues and solve mysteries. Like you can do that. Yeah, I think that's everything I have to say about this set. If you want to pick it up, you can do so by checking out the link that we mentioned down in the description below. Again, there's collector's boosters, all new play boosters, brand new precons that we have played here on YouTube that are absolutely fantastic. Definitely go check those out. And any other final words about this set?
All right, so release weekend is coming up this Friday on February 9th. This will be public in the store. You can go on Wizards event locator on their website to find a game store near you where you can go play this new set. When you go play, come back here and let us know in the comments what you opened, what you're excited about, and how your gameplay went. And we hope to see you next time on the Scry Babies podcast.
See ya!